Wahlberg is here. This is one of my favorites. Let's bring him in, man. Let's bring him in.
It's time.
Yeah, Donnie, there he is, ladies and gentlemen. Donnie Wahlberg is He made it.
Wow.
Made it.
Hi. Look at serendipity.
Yes.
That is
Always
fire.
talking in the hallways.
Yeah, man. We always see each other on planes and everywhere else,
Everywhere.
man. Everywhere else. Donnie, man, welcome to the show, man.
Thank you. I'm happy to be here.
You know what? I go to Boston every so often, man. I'll be in the cut.
Yeah.
You know, I'm friends with Mickey Ward and the family. And man, the Wahlberg, man, I tell people I know y'all, man, that shit goes a long way.
It'll get you in a few places for sure.
Yeah, man, you are a well-respected family, brother.
We work hard and worked hard for the respect. So it's growing up as a kid, you know, in our house, it was crazy. There was 9 kids. I mean, we were on food stamps, and all my brothers were getting arrested and going to jail. And I was fortunate enough to have fallen in love with music and started breakdancing and rapping and singing, and met a music producer and found a career. And, you know, it changed the fortunes of our family forever. But it also... that's not all that gets you respect, you know, because they don't just respect you for being famous. In a city like Boston, you gotta be real, and you gotta remember where you came from and take care of people, and that's what we do. Constantly, you gotta keep giving exactly
back.
Right.
Hey, listen, man, you can never do enough in Boston. You know,
right.
You gotta keep going. New Kids on the Block is how people first discovered your name and your likeness and everything, but. Breakdancing, man. Talk about, like, that's what I loved about Boston. Like, when I grew up in Oakland, so when we see you guys come out, you know, and you were doing New Kids on the Block, we was like, yo, man, these white guys are kind of hard. Is it real? Or what was it appropriation? You know what I mean? We would think, you know, you know, did y'all ever have to?
For me, on the appropriation level, I mean, I would have to say it's deeper than that.
Okay.
Because, you know, Boston, as a lot of people may or may not know, I assume they do, it's considered a very racist city. Yeah. And the reason it's considered that way is because in the mid-'70s, they started desegregating the schools. And they bused white kids to black neighborhoods, black kids to white neighborhoods. So basically, I grew up in a mixed neighborhood, but ended up going to a school that would be the equivalent of Harlem. Okay. So I became a minority in elementary school, first grade, second, third, all the way through high school. I was basically a minority in school. But I got exposed to all types of music, all types of people, culture, understanding. Like it was different. So outside those school buses, people were rioting, saying, "Hey, you ain't putting my kids in that fucking school," and bada bada bada. But for me, I was just on the bus, and making friends and trying to get acclimated to a school, to going to school for the first time. And you know, I'd like to think that I'm the success story of those awful scars on the city of Boston. You know, that I'm what was supposed to happen. Is we were supposed to come to understand each other and be around each other, not just physically, but spiritually. I mean, in the late 70s, early 80s, when people watched Roots, you know, if you watched it in an all-white household, you might have a different take on it. And if you watch in an all-black household, you're going to have your take on it. Because, you know, we identify with what we see and what we relate. I watched it in a classroom where most of the kids were black and all the teachers were black. And for me, it was like, you know, I'm looking at my friend Damien right next to me who's crying, you know, and I'm feeling a certain way. And I'm like, shit, you know, all the white guys are assholes in this movie. And they all look like my dad. Like, it's heavy. It was heavy stuff. But thank God for that, because, you know, it gave me a deeper level of understanding and awareness. And we had to talk about it. We had to put our feelings out there, and you know, and so in terms of like appropriation and you know, taking from culture, you know, of course, if I didn't have the influences I had, if I didn't, not just, you know, the big influences like Run DMC and Parliament Funkadelic and you name it, my friends, my friends were my biggest influences. My greatest inspiration in my entire life was a kid named Elliot Jackson, who looked just like Eddie Murphy, was funnier than Eddie Murphy, and he really like brought me out. Like he helped me come out of my shell and have fun and, you know, be able to sort of, I was a shy kid, you know, and when I started hanging with Elliot, I just changed. And so he gave you swag. He was
The black guy.
he was a little nerdy. He was a little nerdy. He had a little bit of Urkel in him. But yeah, I might have gave him a little swag, but
okay.
But I think, you know, and my bandmates were on those buses with me.
Yeah.
That's the crazy thing. And so, you know, obviously, I mean, we did a little piece for New Edition's Lifetime Achievement Award the other night, and I've watched the video back 25 times, and we were just a 2-second clip.
Yeah.
But in the clip, I said if there was no New Edition, there'd be no New Kids, no Backstreet Boys, no NSYNC, no Mark Wahlberg, no 98 Degrees, no Justin Timberlake, nobody.
Yeah.
And that's the truth.
Yeah.
And you know, the difference for me is like, you know, I mean, anyone could say you appropriate it off a New Edition. They live down the street from me. My first love was Bobby Brown's ex-girlfriend when I was in high school. Just coincidence.
Yeah, you banged out Bobby's ex?
Damn.
Well, he banged her out first. But just by coincidence, just because that's the circles I traveled in. It wasn't that, you know, it wasn't anything foreign to me. It wasn't anything uncomfortable to me. It just it's how I grew up. So I don't think, obviously, you know, yes.
Yeah.
You know, the plan for New Kids was always, let's, you know, make them an R&B group, and the black audience will hear the record and go, oh, this is dope. Is this New Edition? Is this the Jacksons? Oh, it's white boys. We love them. And that plan never really worked. Early on it did. A lot of people, like, you know, in the early days when we were just kind of doing our thing, like we performed at the Apollo and people saw it and were like, yo, these guys are dope. But the more famous we got, the more the pop machine got their hands on us and we're like, all right, enough of that. You know, get rid of the Adidas and let's get you in some nice pink shoes. And we got to sell blankets and pillows.
Yeah, got the outfits got different.
Yeah, it did. It did.
Yeah.
And that's was one of the frustrations for us is we really lost, you know, who we were. We didn't lose it. It just became so big that we didn't have any control over it. I remember saying to my manager, you know, it's like we were in Rock in Rio and Run DMC was there and they were like, we want to go on tour with you. And I was like, fuck yeah. And I was like, hey, let's put Run DMC on tour with us. He was like, why? And this is an old black man who worked with Barry Gordy. His name was Dick Scott. He was like, you don't need them. The audience is never going to understand what you're doing up there with them. I was like, I know, but we want it. Like, I would always bring like Heavy D out on stage and Shock G. And every chance I could, I was always trying to integrate hip hop into what we did. But just the powers that be in our world were like, come on, man, what are you doing? And then 5 years later, 10 years later, you know, Justin Timberlake's with this one. I was like, see, you motherfuckers, I told you.
Yeah, Justin went all hip hop, man. It was justified in doing it too. Nobody got that.
No, I got it first.
Thank you, Tracy. I travel with these people.
Hey.
We had David Banner on last week, and one of the arguments that he was making was that if you're a black artist, that you kind of have to prove yourself in order to get play on other radio stations outside of the urban market. But for white, it's completely different. Like, as long as you've got, you know, that thing, then you'll get played on urban market radio and things like that. I mean, is that always been true in your opinion?
I'm not sure I agree, but with certain artists, I think it's true. You know, I mean, with Justin Timberlake, I mean, a lot of people did just open the doors for him. You know, I'm not sure.
Every artist.
I don't think all white artists get that, but I certainly, it's all changing now. I think it really kind of depends on your age. You know, for us, I mean, we literally were walking around New York, going to radio stations, like going to BLS and saying, here's our 45, will you play it? And they'd be like, what is this shit? And we said, we'll perform for you. So we're literally in the studio dancing and singing for like Fred Bugs and stuff. I mean, like, you know, trying to like make our way. We're trying to make our way, you know, and it worked. They play our record, but it just never really caught on. But
shout out to Bugsy too.
Yeah, it just depends. It just depends how it is, you know. I think, of course, there's truth in it both ways, but I think pop music now is just I mean, I hear kids like talking about Lil Yachty and all this Young Uzi or whatever the shit is, and everyone knows them. White kids, black kids, everyone knows it. I think kids, as crazy as America is right now, kids got their own thing going.
Yeah.
They just got their own
They
thing.
got their own thing, their own mindset.
Yeah, when we were kids, like if I walked down the street and I had on my Lee jeans, crease just perfect with the sewn in crease and some shell toes with fat laces, people be like, you know, people be like, oh, you cool for a white boy. Right. Nowadays, everyone dresses the same. The kids all wear skinny jeans. They all do the same shit. And to me, I love that. Yeah. But the power structures are still the power structures, and the politics of older people who are still sort of being weeded out, who deal in that kind of stuff, still exists. But I think young kids they're so like, what? Yeah. What are you talking about? All this race bullshit. Yeah. Man, they don't get it, and that's good. But historically, there is some things they need to know. Yeah. And they should know it.
I totally agree with you. You see why I like this guy, man? Absolutely. Now, when we were downstairs, you had the band with you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you guys out on the road, or
we're playing Barclays tonight. Yeah. Okay. We reunited in 2008, and it's been.
What's that like for you, man? Because is it like going back, or is it like this is something totally new now?
You know, it's wow. I mean, I have other jobs. I'm an actor and stuff, so it's a trip, because by the time I finish 8 months of Blue Bloods, I need to go on tour and be a boss. I don't want, I'm an actor on Blue Bloods, and New Kids, I'm a boss, and much more creative and help create the whole show and all that stuff. But
you run the point for the band, pretty much. Like, are you the point guy?
Yeah.
Has it always been like that?
I think in the old days, Jordan and I did a lot inside the band, but there were so many hands. Now it's us. Our manager Jared is here.
What's up, Jared?
Jared's and I are like right and left hand, behind the scenes, and then creatively, the guys trust me to build the show and lay out the concert and do all that stuff and sort of come up with all the creative end of it. But I guess I would equate it to, like, I don't want to compare us to Michael Jordan by any means, but when athletes get a little older and they become veterans, everything slows down. Yeah. Before the body slows down, you start to see the court better. You start to take it all in. When we were 18, 19, 20, it was like we were on stage in front of 100,000 people. It was just chaos. Yeah.
Just loud.
Yeah. And you're thinking about crazy shit. You don't take time to appreciate it all. And now it's just such gratitude. Our run this time has been, in 08 we reunited. We're still going. Yeah, the first go round, we lasted like 3 years. Now we're on year 9, still selling out arenas. Wow. And it's so much better this time.
What y'all thinking about new music as well?
We have new music, just came out. We put out an EP called Thankful. And, we do music just to keep it fresh, because, our records ain't going to get played on top 40 radio. We can't even talk about getting played crossing over. We can't, the white stations won't even play us. Damn, man. But it's okay, because we're older. We're a little older. The older stations play us, and it's really about our fans anyway. They want new music. They scream and yell louder than they did when we were little kids.
Wow.
I mean, if you go to our show, you got to bring earplugs, because it's total hysteria. And then we're out with Boys to Men and Paula Abdul right now on the tour. So it's a great lineup.
Tell me, do you really love me forever? Wow. Wow. Boys to Men, Paula Abdul, New Kids on the Block. You know what I want to do, man? Can we do something? Yeah, sure. You gonna hang out with me for a second?
Yeah.
All right, man. Donnie Wahlberg is here, man. I'm opening up the phone lines, 888-742-3345. Yo, DJ Wonder, man, I told him you might come, and we decided to do something off the cuff and just do a medley of hits, man.
All right.
Sway in the Morning, Shade 405. Yeah.
Uh-oh.
Sway in the Morning. Yeah, man. We got Donnie Wahlberg is here, ladies and gentlemen. Most folks know him as an actor, but I know him as this artist, this singer, performer that would hit the stages, and this cool-ass white dude, man. It was like, who is this hard-ass? It looked like they could fight, too. They got fight faces, and they dressing in all this hip-hop stuff, man. Where is this from? When y'all used to come to the West Coast, you used to perform with the likes of Too Short and Rodney O and Joe Cooley.
All the time. When we were unknown and sort of making our way, we were always it would be New Kids with hip hop artists.
Yeah.
So if we're on the East Coast, we were doing shows with like Stetsasonic, you know, and we'd go to the West Coast, literally toured up and down the West Coast, like in Barnstable and Carson and all these places. There'd be New Kids, Rodney O and Joe Cooley.
That's crazy.
NWA, Too Short, you name it. All West Coast hip. We toured, literally did a tour with JJ Fad. DJ Yellow was out there for the whole tour, and then Quick would come around. I mean, this was like when we were making our bones, there was always hip hop around us. It just, we got so big. Once it finally broke and went pop, it just got so big that everyone just sort of took it further away. And that was one of the struggles I had, because I wanted to keep it closer, you know. And
the nucleus.
We'd come to New York, and, you know, we were like the biggest band in the world. And we'd be like, what's going on in New York tonight? And they'd be like, oh, they're doing some hip hop awards up at the Apollo. We're like, let's go. We jump in a van and go.
Nobody ever like challenged y'all? What's up, white boy? Like, nobody ever tried to beat y'all up or nothing?
Not really, no. I think, I think what it was is we were just, because we were so comfortable, like I said, we grew up in black areas. I mean, you know, I never felt out of place. I knew who I was.
Yeah.
I mean, I never walked into a room and said, yeah, hey, you know.
You didn't act that.
I never Rachel Dolezal'd it, you know what I mean? I never did that. I mean, I'm Irish white kid. I know who I am. But I felt comfortable. And, you know, I remember when I was a little kid, my mom, I had a fight in school with a kid, and a black kid named Donovan, and the moms had to come up the next day to see the principal. So him and I are sitting there, and my mother comes up, and his mom couldn't come because she had to work. My mother worked nights, so she could make it. And they made us shake hands, and at the end of it, my mom kissed me goodbye, and then she kissed him goodbye, like it was her own child. And this is like 1978, not exactly the most racially
accepting time,
happy
in America,
times, and especially in Boston. And there's my mom doing this, you know, and it was like, it's just it. My mother was a great example for me, and it just, I just always felt normal. So when we're out on them shows, I was excited. Like I was seeing artists that I listened to. I mean, I'll never forget when I met Public Enemy, because I was big Public Enemy. Like I wore a PE t-shirt in our video. And people were like, what the fuck are you doing? What is he in that Public Enemy shirt for? I was like, fuck that. I love PE. And when I met those guys, it was like, we were in a show in San Francisco. We were in the dressing room with PE. Eazy-E walked in and started drawing graffiti in the dressing room. And our security guard was a guy named Biscuit, who used to work with NWA. So he was like, easy, easy. So, you know, we met all those guys. I mean, it just always felt comfortable. And I think the artists could feel that. They, you know, they may not have sort of understood, you know, sort of some of the songs or some of the marketing or whatever, but I think artists, they know how hard it is to make it. So it's kind of that like game recognized game. In terms of like, you put in your dues and you make it, most people are going to respect you in the business if you really put in your dues. And I think people saw that we did, and I think they could feel that we were authentic when we were there in their presence, as opposed to watching our videos saying, what the hell is that?
Yeah.
You know?
Wow, man, that's amazing. So you was living through this dichotomy of who you are and who you were being portrayed to be.
Right.
Wow.
Were two so totally different things in a sense. Right?
Yes, but I
who you were marketed as.
But I felt, you know, I mean, I enjoyed it, and I tried to do as much as I could. I started writing records, producing records, produced my brother Mark's records. Thank God, because he was going to prison for life if I didn't help him out.
Mark's same guy. Him and I done some stuff around education before. I sat and talked to kids, and I'm looking at this dude, man, and he used to look angry when he first came out. I thought he was like, what the hell? He seemed like a troubled kid. You know what I mean?
He was.
That got behind the mic. You know?
Well, he was, I remember we were touring the world, like literally top of the Forbes list, everything. And Mark was hanging around with the wrong kids back at home. But he was buff. He got really buff. And I was looking at him, and I was desperate to prove myself outside of the band. I was like, you know, they keep saying we don't have talent. I'm going to make a record, maybe a solo record. So I started writing all these songs, and my mother looked at me one day and said, you got to help your brother. He's going to end up in prison. You just got to help him. And he would have been, you know, the third in line in my family to go to prison. So I said, you want to make a record? He said, yeah. So all the songs I was doing for me, Good Vibrations, all that stuff, I put him in the studio, and gave him those songs and created the whole Marky Mark thing for him to help him.
And the Funky Bunch.
Yep, those are all my guys.
Those are all your guys.
That was my bunch.
So that's kind of why he kind of disassociated himself from it. It seemed like after a while, like
I think with him, I think he wanted to be taken serious as an actor. And so I think he wanted to separate from the music. For me, I like doing both. I remember when I told my acting agent, because I started getting a lot of roles. I did Band of Brothers. I did The Sixth Sense. I did, a bunch of stuff.
The Sixth Sense,
Thank
too.
you.
Yeah,
thank
man.
you.
That one right there. We was like, that's not him.
Saw,
Saw, right.
Yeah.
So people were like, my agents and Hollywood people were like, you can't get back in that band. You're going to mess up your acting career. People think you're a good actor. And I was like, I'll still be a good actor. Just let me do me. Trust me. It's not going to hurt. It's only going to help. And so when I put New Kids back together, I was comfortable doing both. Mark, he's a little more like, I don't really want to do that Marky Mark thing anymore. I brought him on stage two years ago. We played Madison Square Garden, and 50 came out and performed in the club. Yeah. And then, so the lineup was, we were doing our show, and then we did a little hip hop set in the middle, and Biz Markie came out. And then 50 came out, and then Mark was waiting in the wings, and we played Good Vibrations, but he fucking wouldn't rap it.
He didn't rap it?
He didn't rap it. He gave the mic to my nephew and just walked around, and I was like, what fucking rap? He's like, I can't hear the music, man. I can't hear it. 50 grabbed him. 50 grabbed him.
Yeah.
It went all the way down to the bowels of the garden, grabbed him, dragged him on stage, and said, get up here, motherfucker. You getting up there and get on the mic. And he never got on the mic, but it was still a fun moment.
Oh, my gosh. You got to do that. You got to embrace that, man.
Yeah.
So do you still have producer qualities in you that you still want to do, produce new artists?
I do. But I think what happened was after the New Kid success, I really put my focus into producing music. I had success with my brother Mark's albums, and then I produced a few other groups. But what I started to notice is I was spending a lot of money and investing in other people. And, if they show up to the studio drunk or don't got their shit together, whatever, I started realizing, like, I'm investing in all these other people, and I got to depend on them to be special. And I said, and eventually I just said, I'm going to start investing in me. I got things I still want to do. I want to act. I want to do music. I want to get my group back together again someday. So I just really shifted my focus to me. And it's just been better for me to do that. Like trying to discover new artists and stuff. I mean, I think I could spot talent. I think I could hear a good record, but I'm not. I think the game has changed so much that it's best for me to stay in my lane and do what I'm good at doing and what I'm good at sort of overseeing. That's sort of my way of going about it now.
Because I see ABC has a show called Boy Band.
Yeah.
And, they have other people like Timberland and other people judging that. Do you think you could spot like 5 dudes right now that would be platinum?
And can a boy band work?
Right.
Well,
That's
the man bands are working.
Yeah.
New Kids, Boys to Men, New
There you
Edition.
go. Hey, man, let's focus on the man band.
Yeah.
Man.
I mean, I don't know. For me, I don't know, man. I mean, the boy band show, I haven't seen it, so I don't want to say anything bad about it. I have no idea. To me, if everyone's eating, I'm happy. So if they're eating, if they're developing some stars, great. That's not how we did it. There was 7 kids ever tried out for New Kids. One of them was my brother Mark. The other 5 are in the band, and there was one other kid who was in the band and got kicked out. That's it. There was no like talent show. There was no Lou Pearlman auditioning 10,000 kids in Orlando. It was like in 1984, Maurice Starr, who discovered New Edition, was like, I got to find some white kids who can sing and dance and do something. And there weren't any. Nobody was... in 84, white kids, I don't know, well, they were listening to Bon Jovi and, maybe if they were hip, they were listening to Beastie Boys or Run DMC or something, but there wasn't a lot of people really exposed to R&B and hip hop music back then. So, again, my upbringing put me in that position. And again, I think it's like the biggest blessing, that I was able to grow up the way I did.
Man, you gotta thank Elliot, man. That kid
Elliot's
man.
Man.
That dude Elliot made it all happen, man.
That's my guy.
BB, you got a
You,
question?
you talked about earning respect in the music business, paying your dues and things like that. But how does that work with regards to acting? Like how long did you feel it took for you to actually be accepted in that community and being taken serious as an actor?
I think same thing. It's twofold because I had to learn to respect myself as an actor and get respect, be taken seriously. I think the first bunch of auditions I did, I swear the casting people were like New Kids fans who hadn't heard of me in a while. Yeah. And they're like, come in and read this part. I was like, yeah, but it says it's a 60-year-old Asian guy. And they're like, you're great for it. And I'd go in and the casting person would be like an old New Kids fan. And they'd be like, okay, we'll call you back next week. And I'm like, she just wanted to meet me. Like, it was weird. But eventually I got a role. The first movie role I ever did, Mickey Rourke asked me to do a movie called Bullet with him and Tupac Shakur.
I remember that, yeah.
I went and met Mickey. He was like, yeah, come do the part. And I was like, great. And the first day I'm with Tupac all day. And I knew like Tupac and a lot of his guys. I knew them. And I got to know Tupac really good. Stretch, I don't know if you remember Stretch. Yes,
yeah.
Rest in peace.
Yeah.
Exactly. Stretch and I were already friends. And he was with Pac for most of the shooting of the movie. So we all started hanging out and talking, and Pac was getting in a lot of trouble then. I had a lot of trouble during my boy band heyday, but we talked about acting and doing both. And, I went out of that movie, but I kept feeling regret, like, shit, I should have said this in the scene and I should have added this. And there were things I felt like I messed up, so I wanted another chance. So I was really more trying to prove myself to myself that my instincts were right. And next movie, I got to get another movie so I can not go home with regrets after I do a scene. And slowly, by focusing on my work, I started getting more parts, and the respect sort of just came. And I think it really changed when I did The Sixth Sense, though. I think people, that opening scene in the underwear, people were just like, who the fuck is that? And
we could see your ribs.
I lost 41 pounds in 5 weeks.
Yeah, man.
And I was hungry.
Yeah.
They were like, can you go in there and cry? I was like, motherfucker, I'm starving. Of course I can cry.
Got the Lord of the Ring thing. What's that?
Gollum. It was like, it's the old Bugs Bunny when the guys would be stuck on an island and they look at each other and they turn into a hot dog or a drumstick. I was looking at Bruce Willis like, look at that motherfucker. He's a hot dog. I was so hungry.
Wow, man. Well, man, look, you got to come back, man, because we got Jimmy Iovine coming up here in a minute. Did he play
Jimmy
a role?
signed Mark. He signed Mark, and Jimmy.
Right after Geraldo.
Yep, exactly. Gerardo was like the first hit they had, and then Mark, I brought Mark over there.
Rico Suave.
Yeah, Rico Suave. And then I brought Mark over there, and it was just like, that was a great time in music.
Yeah,
I mean, because I'd go up there and sit around on the couch with Jimmy, and he'd be like, hey, we're thinking about signing this Dr. Dre cat. And I was like, you got Snoop with him? He was like, yep. I said, sign him.
Really?
Yeah, because 187 on Undercover Cop, the deep cover was the shit. I mean, I used to drive through Boston playing that, and people would all be in the street. Everyone loved Snoop, but he wasn't signed anywhere. And that era with Jimmy was great. And one of the great things is when Jared and I teamed up to bring New Kids back, I kept saying, I said, Jimmy Iovine's going to sign us. Don't worry. And he was like, really? I was like, I brought him his first #1. He's going to love it. He's going to get it. He's going to sign us. And sure enough, Interscope signed us in 2008 and, got behind us and really helped make it a huge success.
So I'm going to have you ask Jimmy a question. Think about stuff like even behind the curtain stuff, that nobody knows.
All right.
What would that question be? I'm going to take this question and play it back for him. Like, let me just give you some ideas. Streaming is big now. He got the Apple Music deal, the Beats deal with Apple. He got a bunch of stuff going. He's still got this Defiant Ones 4-part documentary series about him and Dr. Dre and Interscope and Apple and Beats and all that. What he did.
Well, I would say, Jimmy, I was certain that I'm the only person that could get Mark Wahlberg to perform Good Vibrations again. But I realized I can't do it without you. Do you think you have the power at some point, somewhere in time, to team up with me and my mother, because she'll slap him around if he says no, to perform Good Vibrations one more time somewhere? That's it.
That's it, man. There you go. Donnie Wahlberg, ladies and gentlemen. Donnie, man. Thank you, bro.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here.
Man,
Thank
man,
you.
I'm happy to have you. We bumped into each other. I said, man, why you always pass up the show? And he showed up, man.
Nice.
That's the type of guy this guy is, man. Good to see you.
I don't want you to get sick of me, man. I'll show up every day.
Not at all, man. Come on, man. Your lovely wife works with us. We're co-workers.
She loves you, man.
Yeah.
She's a big fan.
Oh man, she's mad cool, man.
Yep.
Congratulations, bro.
Thank you.
You know, I'm a big fan of hers too. She stirs shit up around here.
Yep.
And she walk around here bossing these fools around, man. I love it too, man. All right, Jimmy Iovine is up next, founder of Interscope Records. You want to talk with him? 888-742-3345.
It's Sway in the morning, only on Shade 45.
Kilo.